guys, I said I'd do a review of my Bose SoundTouch system that I've got around my house. Now's as good a time as any. I've just had to reboot all my internet for various reasons, and as I did that, my Bose SoundTouch then defaulted back to my 2.4 gigahertz network as opposed to the 5 gigahertz network. So I've had to go around and re-add that onto the 5 gigahertz network. Reason being, I found that with the Bose SoundTouch, when they're on my 2.4 gigahertz network, they tend to cut in and out. The speakers in the kitchen and in the upstairs rooms especially tend to cut in and out, and the only thing I can put it down to is the amount of traffic that's on the 2.4 gigahertz channel and interference from other things. There isn't a huge amount of stuff that's on the 5 gigahertz channel. You've got my iPad, my phone, my MacBook, but all the things like the smart lights, the thermostat, anything else I can think of that's on Wi-Fi is on 2.4 gig. As much of the stuff as I can in the house I've hardwired anyway, so it's mainly light bulbs, it's mainly things like work laptops that aren't new enough to have 5 gigahertz channel that are on those on the 2.4 gigahertz network. But there's 27 light bulbs, there's the thermostat, that's 28, and then I just kind of thought there's a fire stick, that's 29. I'm not sure, that might be on the 5 gigahertz channel, can't think. But you kind of start looking at all that and thinking, great, you know, all this stuff that's on there creating traffic, albeit minor traffic, is potentially causing an issue with the Bose SoundTouch. So my SoundTouch system is made up of 5 speakers. There's the SoundTouch 20, which I kind of view as the heart of the system. I'll explain why in a little bit. And then I've got 4 SoundTouch 10s. So the SoundTouch 20 lives in my lounge, in my living room. I've then got the SoundTouch 10 in the conservatory and in the kitchen, and that's downstairs covered. Doesn't need any more than that. Upstairs I've then got the SoundTouch 10 in my office and the SoundTouch 10 in my master bedroom. Again, covers the floor. You know, if they were cheaper I'd probably add a couple more to them, but in reality you're paying 150, 160 quid per speaker for these, so you know, buying 5 of them in the first place was more than enough, and it fills the house well enough. When I bought them, it was December 2016, and Google Home hadn't been launched, hadn't arrived in the UK. It was imminently arriving in the US, but there was a big delay on it coming to the UK. And also, I never believed that the sound quality would be anywhere near as good as a dedicated speaker, such as a Bose or a Sonos or something like that. So I opted to go for the Bose system. It was a Christmas present for my wife, actually. We'd moved house that year and she wanted a whole home system, so that's what we went with. We listened to the Sonos, listened to the Bose. I felt the clarity and the depth of field from the Bose speakers was better. My wife, I think, preferred the branding of Bose. They've been around for a lot longer. That's what we went with. I'm sure the Sonos are great. I'm sure the Jam, I think there's one called that's a multi-room system. They're probably all very good. I opted for the Bose, probably paid a bit for the premium. As I say, it was a Christmas present for the wife, and in my opinion it sounded better. So I got it home, set it up for Christmas, set up at the time my wife had a dressing room, we had the master bedroom, we've now moved it around, but that's how that was set up, and then the 3 downstairs, and hooked it up to Spotify Premium. That's one of the downsides with these speakers. They only work with Spotify Premium for your streaming service. You can use Deezer, I think it is, and I'm sure they may well have added some others since then, but Spotify was my one of choice. I already had a Spotify account through my mobile phone contract, as did my wife, so we each had a Spotify account. We could stream from that, which was fine, and we used that no problem at all until the Google Homes came along. And we carried on using them fine. Like I say, they cut in and out a bit, and it's only been recently that I've managed to sort that out properly, which you'll see when I do a review of my new router in another video. But we streamed, we were quite happy with them from Christmas 2016 until Christmas 2017, when I got my first Google Home Mini. The Google Home Mini I got came about as a bit of a freebie, if you like. My brother-in-law is also into all of his tech, and the Christmas present I had bought him for last Christmas was a Nest Protect smoke alarm. But I bought it at a time when Nest, who obviously are owned by Google, had a deal on where with any Nest product you got a free Google Home Mini. And being that my brother-in-law had already bought all his Google Homes, he'd gone for the full size, I think he had about 6 of them in the house. I thought, well, he won't need that. And being that the fire alarm was more than I normally spend on him anyway, I thought, well, I'll have the Google Home Mini because I wanted to see what it was all about. And that's where this all sort of went from. So I bought the Google Home Mini and quite liked it. I had a couple of smart plugs already. I thought, oh, this is quite cool, and added that, and started with the light bulbs and so on and so forth. But back to the Bose, I wanted to make it a truly automated, not automated, but voice activated experience to be able to play music through high quality speakers around the house, and just to say the name of the band that you wanted, the volume you wanted, to pause it, to stop it, and that sort of thing. And the only way I could find of doing that was with a Chromecast. So I went and bought a Chromecast audio for 30 quid. And initially I plugged that into the SoundTouch 10 in my office, which I thought, well, that should work fine, should do what I need it to do. And it did to a certain extent. The problem is with the SoundTouch 10s and the SoundTouch 20s that by default, after there's not been any sound played for 20 minutes, they go to standby. Which if you're just using your normal app on your phone and your Spotify on your phone, is fine because you just click it to stream over your Wi-Fi network and they'll come back online. But using a Chromecast to get the voice activation, it doesn't work because you're using an aux port, and after 20 minutes of inactivity, goes into standby. You can tell Google Home to play whatever it is you want on the Bose. It won't wake it up because it's playing it down a 3.5mm jack, and the speaker will just remain in standby. Luckily, and this is why I've done this with a screen recording, what I found out was that a guy, give him his credit, Nathan Totten, has found a way of disabling the auto shut off with the Bose. And it's a relatively easy thing to do. So if you've got a Bose speaker, you can do this if you're using your Google Home and stop it from going to sleep. But, and this is a big but, it only works on the SoundTouch 20. So I tried this multiple times on my SoundTouch 10s and nothing was working. It wouldn't stop them going into standby. And I just thought, I'll try it on the SoundTouch 20. And lo and behold, it works a treat on the SoundTouch 20. So once you've done this, if you're using a Windows machine, you need to use a program called Putty. And it's one where if you've done any sort of networking with ZGemma boxes or anything like that, you may have come across it because it's basically allowing you to telnet into the system and change things. So if you're using Windows, you need Putty. If you're using Mac OS, if you're on an earlier version of Mac OS, you can just do it straight from terminal. If you're on Mac OS High Sierra or El Capitan, I believe, you need to enable it. And I can't for the life of me remember how I did it. But if you Google enable telnet on High Sierra, there's a guide on what you need to do. And it's basically, there's a program you need to download, run it, and it re-enables telnet, so it reopens that. If you then run this command, find obviously the IP address of your SoundTouch 20, once you've found that and you've run that, it will then stay powered on indefinitely. Not the perfect solution, because the perfect solution would be that it could go to sleep and when you asked Google Home to play something, that it would wake up. Doesn't work. So this is the best workaround that I've been able to come up with. Love it if there's something better. If there is, please comment below and let me know. But this is the best that I have come up with. What I've done is disable the auto shut off with this command, which then works. What I've then been able to do is basically through the Bose SoundTouch app, which I'll show you the one on my Mac on the screen recording. This will find my speakers in a moment. What I've then done is created a group, and because the disable is on, so the auto off is disabled on the SoundTouch 20, that is the lead speaker on the group. It's taken a while, but you'll see in a minute. That's the lead speaker on the group. So the whole group believes that it's receiving music from aux in, which is what the Google Chromecast is plugged into on the SoundTouch 20, which is the one in the picture there. That then means that all of the other speakers stay online. I get no buzzing, I get no feedback, they are perfectly silent, until I tell Google Chromecast to play, or tell the Google Home to play something. It then plays my Spotify, whatever it is I've asked. I've told it to play to the Bose. It then casts it to the Chromecast, which then plays it to all the other speakers. And since I've put the speakers onto the 5 GHz channel, they don't drop in and out. They work flawlessly. And I'm over the moon with them, really happy with the system. At one point when it wasn't turning on and off, I was thinking I was going to have to go and buy, something else, or Chromecast for each and every speaker. And when you start doing that at 30 quid a pop, you're then looking at 150 quid to get something working the way you want it to work, which wouldn't have been ideal. But thankfully this workaround's meant I've had to buy one Chromecast for 30 quid, and that has allowed me to get the whole home audio system voice activated, and it works absolutely flawlessly. Now what I've done is I've then set the Bose speakers, I've turned them all up to maximum, as you can see on the app here. Now if you want to adjust the volume on them individually, you can do that, but you'll have to do that through your through the app, either on your phone or on the PC, on the Mac. The reason I've set it like this is that by setting it at maximum volume here, it's allowed me to set the Chromecast to 1% volume, and it's loud enough to fill the house. Not ridiculously loud, but a nice amount of volume. And I can then command the Google Home up and down on the volume via voice as well as being able to control the play and pause. The only issue I find, again, is having these multiple Google Homes, is that if I start it playing from the one in the bedroom, if I then ask it to stop on the one in the office, it won't see that there's something playing, if you like. It won't realise something's playing, and quite often it will say, well, there's nothing playing to stop. So what you then have to do is you have to say stop casting, and if you do that, that then stops it dead. But it will still control the volume from any of the other Google Chromes. So Google Homes rather, it will control the volume on the Chromecast. So it does work. Again, a bit of a Heath Robinson kind of fix putting this together, but it's allowed me to have automated voice automated music around the house. I can create playlists on Spotify, I could create a morning playlist, I could create whatever I want to. What I've actually done is got a premium family membership Spotify account and created an account for the house. And the reason I've done that is, up until recently, I'd quite often be on a long journey back from work, plug my phone into the car, play Spotify through the car, and I'd be coming home and then all of a sudden the music would go off. And I'd have no idea why until I tried to put it back on, and it would say on the phone playing in the kitchen or playing wherever my wife had decided that she wanted to have the music on. So I've now created an account on Spotify for the house. I've created an account for my wife, and I've created an account for me, so that if I'm in my car or if I'm out having a walk or whatever I'm doing, I can have my stuff on and there's no risk of it getting turned off by somebody else because they've gone onto the home system. Ultimately I had it previously where my sister-in-law turned up at my house, decided while she was doing a bit of washing up that she wanted her music on, and asked Spotify to play, and all of a sudden it just cabbaged the whole thing because she was using her phone to try and play through my Bose system, and that really stumped it. I then had to go into the Google Homes and close down any open Spotify on each one of those Google Homes, close it down on her phone so that it would actually realise that it wasn't linked to that anymore. Bit of a pain. So now I've been able to say to anyone that comes in the house, look, you want any music on, just tell the Google Home what you want, ask it to play it on the Bose, and it'll play it on the Bose. They don't need to worry about picking up their phone, looking for their Spotify account, connecting to my Bluetooth or anything like that. And every time, I don't know about you guys if you've ever had a party, people come round, you can have whatever music, you can have every track in the world, but it wouldn't be what someone else wants to put on. So you'd be quite happy having a party. Someone always wants to connect to the speaker via Bluetooth. Someone always wants to do it. There's no need with this, because it's Spotify has got pretty much everything anyway. So unless it's something really obscure that, a DJ's at your party and he's got his own mix that he wants to play, unless it's really obscure, it's probably on Spotify. But even if it is really obscure, at that point you could just say to whoever's come to the party that wants to play their own mix, just plug in to one of the Bose and then create the group to play that on the app. So again, that then goes away from the Google Home side of things, but that's an anomaly of an event. It's not something that you're going to need to do very often. So ultimately, most of the time, anyone can play what they want to play on the Bose just by asking the Google Home to play Spotify on the Bose. And then when you want to stop it, just ask it to stop. If it's on the same speaker you started it going on, if it isn't, ask it to stop casting, and that stops it. And it's got the, it has got pause. If you've started it on the kitchen Google and you pause it on the kitchen Google, that works. If you try and pause it upstairs on another Google Home, doesn't always work. That's something Google need to work on, really. But other than that, the system works perfectly. So for my review, Bose SoundTouch I've had for not quite 18 months, I suppose, about 15 months. 5-star. I've been over the moon with them. The dropping in and out was nothing to do with the Bose, it was to do with my Wi-Fi coverage and too busy a channel. I fixed that by putting it onto the 5 GHz channel. Sound quality of the Bose, great. Build quality of the Bose is great. I'm really pleased with them overall, really pleased with how they look, how they sound, the Wi-Fi coverage that they get when they're on a decent clear channel. And yeah, it fills the house with no problem at all with 5 speakers. I may, if there's a deal on, or if they bring out, I'd like them to bring out a SoundTouch 5, a really small one, just not really small, but one that's got decent sound quality that I could add to the groups and put in the hallway and the landing, so it just filled the whole house a bit more. I don't want to put one into the bedroom 4 or into bedroom 2, because there's been no point. Those rooms are rarely used. But the landing, it'd be quite cool to put them in. Or if they bought out a cheap option, I'd like to put one into the bathroom and into the ensuite. One of the things I'm going to look at is they do a Sound Link, I think it's called, which is basically it's a bolt-on part that affects it. It looks it's bigger than the Chromecast, but I guess it works in a similar way. But what it allows it to do is it actually will turn any speaker into a SoundTouch speaker, so it would be able to be added into my groups. So what I might do is buy some marine speakers, i.e. for the bathrooms, that are mounted in the ceiling, and then run the wires across in the attic to one of these sound links, so that you've got music in the bathrooms. And in the landing, I could run 3 speakers off of that, really, because you could just, as far as I know, it's a positive and negative in, and that then turns it into a SoundTouch. So you could do that with some relatively cheap marine speakers just to fill the house a bit more. But again, it'd be doing it for the sake of doing it. It's not needed. The 5 SoundTouch 10s, if you put it on 10% with put the Chromecast on 10% with the Bose set to full, it's too loud. It fills the house perfectly. So, like I say, rating for the Bose SoundTouch 10s, 5 out of 5. Really happy with them. Google Chromecast, 5 out of 5 as well. For what it does for the Google Chromecast audio, I can't fault it. It has never dropped connection at all. I've set it up and it just works absolutely perfectly. It's it's a quality product from Google. I haven't got the Chromecast for the TV, and I'm tempted to get one just on the basis that it's going to be as good as the Chromecast audio. Having said that, I subscribe to Amazon Prime TV, mainly because of the amount of stuff I order off Amazon. With the free postage and packaging, I easily cover the cost each month of that anyway, so it's worth having. But with having that, I kind of look at it and say, well, if I've got the Chromecast, I'm not going to set up for the TV, I'm not going to set up Netflix and start paying for that as well. So I'm not sure whether I'd get value for that. But the Chromecast audio, perfect, does what I need it to do, works a treat. And it's worked in such a way I've only had to buy one, and that was one of my big worries, was that I was going to have to buy one for each speaker. So not having to do that is a right bonus. Spotify Premium, like I say, I love that service. I think it's brilliant. It's great that it's integrated with the Google Home. Can't fault it at all. Now I've got this family premium membership, and I'm not going to find all my music getting turned off and my wife's Little Mix CD coming on or whatever when I'm on my way back from work. then I'm over the moon with that. Really, really happy. So, like I say, a few tweaks to do, and it only works if you've got the SoundTouch 20. I guess it'd work on the SoundTouch 30 as well, the bigger one, but I know it works on the SoundTouch 20. It doesn't work on the SoundTouch 10s. But if you've got a similar issue to what I had, that you want to have the speaker system voice activated, then you can do it if you've got the SoundTouch 20. So well worth knowing, and I'm really happy with it. So that's my review of the Bose. If there's anything else that happens with them, or if I do add any more, if I get the sound link like I talked about for the landing speakers, if I do anything like that, then I'll make sure I do a video of it. But for now, I just wanted to share that with you, and yeah, let me know how you've got on with your Bose SoundTouch. Any questions that you've got about the SoundTouch, anything you think I could do better with getting it to integrate with Google Home Minis, that would be fantastic. Thanks for that, guys. I'll speak to you soon. Cheers. Bye bye.